Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back into the Back to 12 podcast. I am RC, the man that can rock a beanie and I cannot. That is Lyle. You know, he does basically everything for Level End in terms of their athletic department, AD, football coach. I hear that you might be even into meat judging now. Is that correct?
Well, I know a pretty good steak when I have one. So,
Mm.
I'm taking it up. They're still giving me some pointers, but as far as the beanies, when your co-host is as cold as mine is, you got to be prepared. So, I just want to be ready for the podcast. So I can bring my A game today, and that's it. That's all I
I
can
am
do.
I am really actually cold. It got really cold here in Dallas. I know in Lubbock as well. So yeah, Texas, if you want to stop, doing what you normally do, I get it. You're consistent with it every year, going from 80 to 34. Be my guest. We'll all be happy about it. I thought we were into spring mode, but alas, we are not.
It's like the Dallas Cowboys. You never know what we're gonna get, man. And we hope for the best, and you know, we see what happens. That's all we can do.
Usually it's mediocrity if we're being honest about it.
Yeah. Inconsistency too. This year,
Mhm.
Super Bowl run, we thought, 2 years
That's what you
ago,
get for thinking, right? That's the old
you
saying.
know, and 2 years ago, we were just trying to make the playoffs. So, times come and go. And, all you can do is rock your star no matter what. And, take the jokes. It's a lot of jokes. It's been,
I mean, people come and go, places change, but one thing doesn't, and that's the Dallas Cowboys being mediocre
yeah,
for the last
absolutely.
25 years. It's the
Yeah.
facts. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I think ever since I was able to walk, or I guess just be able to remember things, the
Mhm.
Dallas Cowboys have sucked. So I can take the blame for them sucking. I'm okay because I'm not a Cowboys fan. So
Yeah.
doesn't really hurt my feelings too much.
Well, it makes it worse when you get cut from them. So, um,
But you got to play for them for a little bit too.
that is true. That is a true statement. But
So there you go.
that's a
There's only
true
one person on this two-man podcast that can say that they played in the NFL. And trust
statement.
me, I created dope-ass Madden player,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between, putting all the sliders all the way to the right and actually playing in the league, i.e. what you did.
Hey, that may be true, brother, but it still hurts to see our team going halfway and no, they gave me the axe. They didn't ask no questions. They don't even send me Christmas cards. You know what I'm saying? I thought I saw Jerry not too long ago in Dallas. He didn't know who I was. It hurt. Jerry, you know who I am.
Not for long, man. That's what it stands for. Not for long, man. That's what the league stands for. On today's podcast, we'll talk about football and Lyle having an experience where he got to meet every coach at Texas Tech. Obviously, he played with a couple of them and knew them already, but wanted to give his thoughts on the practice and everything like that. We'll also talk about a big-time transfer commitment for the Red Raiders, as the offensive line has been a big, really just pressing need for this roster for years. And now they get one that can come in and plug and play at left tackle and hopefully not allow whoever the quarterback is to see pressure from their backside. Also, I got a lot of questions on Twitter, have multiple DMs, multiple comments down below. We will answer every basketball question and talk about realistic expectations for Texas Tech going into the postseason. And Lyle, I will be pissing some people off today when it comes to my take on Coach Adams not winning Big 12 Coach of the Year as voted on by his peers. He did win it for the AP, though, so he did end up winning a Coach of the Year, just voted on by the writers instead. But let's talk about football again, it feels weird because, just from my point of view, I've covered Texas Tech football for, I guess, 6 years now. This will be my sixth year officially, right? And I, it's one of those deals for me where I don't remember the last time that I actually wanted to talk about Texas Tech football when Tech basketball was good. So there's that. And you have now a guy coming in and Cole Spencer. We got to talk about him. He's the left tackle from Western Kentucky. We all know who came from Western Kentucky. A couple of coaches currently on the Texas Tech roster. One guy that you actually played with at Texas Tech, and then Zach Kitley, the new offensive coordinator. Cole Spencer's a stud, though. He was an all-conference USA first teamer. He has 2 years of eligibility left with this, which is absolutely huge, right? And PFF loves him. I know a lot of people don't like PFF. That's fine, whatever. But he is one of the best left tackles, if not the best left tackle in Conference USA. And yes, he has to take that jump, but I would rather a guy that's proven it at a pretty high level, right? Maybe not a Power 5 level, and that's fine. Come in and, have to adjust and really go, okay, well, I know how to play the game and I've done this before. It basically goes back to that old adage, right? Like, you want to have players that you don't want to teach them how to shave, right? Like, you don't want younger players, all your players to be young, and you want to have experience at certain spots, and left tackle is one of them. So it's great to have Cole Spencer come in, because you look at some of his stats, Lyle, and he started the last 33 games at Western Kentucky, just an absolute dominant type season last year, in an offense that was historic, right? Like, people, I don't know if they forget, maybe in terms of just what Zappy did last year under Wes Kitley, but he broke Joe Burrow's records that I didn't think were going to be broken for a long time, but Wes Kitley had other thoughts. And now you bring in that left tackle that knows the offense most importantly. There will be a seamless transition in terms of the playbook and the verbiage and everything. And now it's just really him coming in and making that adjustment to the Power 5 level.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's going to be a little bit of adjustment for him. But I think the thing that people don't understand just yet, and they will, is how good of a coach Coach Hamby is. I don't know if a lot of people even remember this or know this, but he was a part of that O-line that gave up one sack for almost the entire season. Probably the best O-line that's ever been through, with, people like Louis Vasquez, Marlon Wynn, Rylan Reed. I mean, those guys were, outstanding guys. But I think like his mentality is already shaping those guys. So I think him being in this and being the coach and bringing that mentality is going to be huge. When he was on our O-line, he was the smallest guy on our O-line. But that still didn't change his mentality, how he blocked the things he did. Like I said, he gave up one sack just like the rest of those guys. So I think this is like a huge recruit that people don't even know. This is a very low-key young man that he's not going out boasting and saying what he's got, but he's had some huge offers. And the fact that Tech got him is crazy. It's still probably not talked about as enough as it needs to be, but that speaks volumes to Coach Hamby and how much faith that he has in Coach Hamby to come here. Because this kid probably could have went anywhere he wanted to in the Big 12, SEC, and like I said, that's a big decision for a kid with some of those schools that probably offer a little bit more than what Texas Tech has right now, as far as facilities, maybe NLI deals, all that stuff. So it's a lot more involved, a lot more things involved now when it comes to college recruiting that people don't think about. It's tough when you got a school like Alabama saying, hey, we can give you $400,000, $500,000, $1 million if you come here and you got to deal with Dutch brothers or whatever it may be. So I think that just speaks volumes on Coach McGuire, Coach Hamby, and what they're doing in getting kids to come to Texas Tech and passing over those other schools that may have the ability to do the NIL. And I think, same we talked about with Quinn. I think that's why he's not at Texas Tech. I think our offense is better. I think it's more exciting. I think it's everything that he wanted, but I don't think we could compete when it comes to those NLI deals. And just being on Twitter, I see these kids all the time. Hey, I'm interested in NIL deals. Hit me up.
Me too.
And it's crazy to see because, like I said, I went and got a car for my wife at McGavick, and I was talking to him, and there's kids turning them down. So I know for me, kids turning them down. Wasn't enough money. He was telling me that some of those kids were turning it down. So I was like, hey, listen, I'll do it right now for 100. You take 100 off this car I'm about to get, I'll do 10 commercials for you. So the game is really changing, and getting to talk to Hamby a little bit after it's super changed. And there's some guys getting out of college because of that. It's turning more into a business. What can you do for me versus what we can do for you in terms of the school. So it's a shift, and it's just now starting, even trickling down to this high school level. There's a lot of kids. I just went to a track meet and saw some 6-7 kids that were pretty dang good, move good, and I mean, because of the transfer portal and everybody moving around, just like, this recruit, he's an All-American. So that may bump out a kid that we like, that's 6'7", that's an awesome high school kid, but he can't compete when it comes to this kid's already proven. So the whole trickle effect of this transfer portal and the NLI deals is crazy. And it's amazing to see these guys still be able to fight through, navigate all that, and land big recruits like that. And right now our class is number 2. If I believe we're still number 2,
Yep.
and that's tough. But getting to be a part and see what they did, it makes sense to why this is going on and the things that they're doing. But I think people just need to be aware of the awesomeness of what's going on, because like I said, I don't think Spanky's is giving out $500,000 NLI deals to our kids to get people to come.
We'll take a simple sponsorship for the pod. We'll take
that's what I'm saying.
One.
Spanky's. We'll take cheese sticks every podcast and be happy with that.
McGavick, we'll take a simple, sponsorship as well. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Hey, shout out to McGavick.
There we go. But, free advertising. There you go.
That's
how you get in.
I think it's like I said, it's awesome. And I think for those coaches, it just adds another roadblock where people talk about here, and still people are like, it's easy to read. It's not hard to recruit. It still is, man. I don't care what anybody says. As far as, like I said, it's just far from cities that we normally get kids, Dallas, that's far. There's not like a near big city by it. So Lubbock is the biggest thing around here. So I think when you add that and just add our economy over here, like I said, we don't have tons of businesses that can give like that. Now we have a bunch of awesome people that want to give and want to be a part, but we're talking high dollars. I don't know how many of those that we actually have that are able to get recruits to come. So these guys are doing a freaking amazing job, and it's cool to see and be a part of.
Yeah, you talked about the recruiting class, and that's the interesting part to me, because in years past, Wells was trying to save his job, so he went for older guys, and I think that there's a fine balance of using the transfer portal and getting younger high school guys, right? Like, you still want these guys that can come in and maybe make an impact as a freshman, but maybe you have to develop them for 2 or 3 years, and that's totally fine, right? But you also need to plug and fill those holes with guys that have been there and done that before, right? And that's exactly what the transfer portal is, in my opinion. Wells, again, he was trying to save his job. He just went all in on the transfer portal, and it didn't work. But I think realistically, what you want to do when you look at those 25 you can get, right? If you can get 25 in a recruiting class, I'd probably say you want to get 17 young guys, 8 transfer portal guys. That's probably what you want, right? Like, you want to be in that range. Maybe one year you shift that and it changes a little bit, where it's like 13 and 12 if you need to fill a couple more holes than you think, or maybe there's a couple guys that you weren't expecting to be interested. But I also think that you can do a lot more than that. You could even go more and have more than 25 guys in a class, because the transfer portal doesn't hurt you, but it also allows you to really do things that we weren't able to see 5 or 6 years ago. Like, you just weren't, because you had to sit out. And the NIL does change things. And I'll say this, I think Lubbock is actually the perfect college town for NIL. And the reason being is its people. I think that Lubbock is one of those towns where, and obviously it's not Austin, right? Like, Austin has Fortune 500 companies, like, whatever, we get it. But I think Lubbock, if you're looking for more in terms of, yeah, you might not reach that dollar amount that Quentin Ewers got. And let's be honest, not very many players are. They're just not, right? But if you want to come to Lubbock, it was shocking to me right there when you said people were turning McGavick down. That's crazy. But I do think at the same time, like, there are so many businesses in West Texas that just want to be affiliated with Texas Tech basketball or Texas Tech football and the athletic program in general, whatever that is. And if they can put their name with a certain player, let's just say Kevin McCullar, right? I think that actually helps them, because there's so many businesses. And I think it helps, obviously, the higher end players, the Kevin McCullars of the world. And this isn't a slap in the face or a diss to the Clarence Nadolnys of the world, but I think it also helps the Clarence Nadolnys of the world too, because there are smaller businesses that are willing to get involved in, just wanting to be affiliated with the athletic program, whether that's an offensive lineman, whether that's, the punter, for goodness sakes, Austin McNamara. I mean, he is one of the best players on the team. He's a, really good punter. But at the same time, like, I think Lubbock is perfect for that because there is that sense of community, that sense of I want to be a part of this because it is the only thing we have. And I don't know. I think you can actually flip that on its head. Like, and I get what you're saying in terms of it is hard to recruit to Lubbock. I disagree with it in the sense that, and really this is the only reason why, it's because I think NIL flips it on its head completely. Like, in the sense that, well, you're having a list, and I mean probably pages and pages and pages of companies that are like, hey, yeah, we don't care who it is as long as they're a good person. If they're affiliated with the Tech Athletics, whatever it is, we want in. And so maybe it's not going to be, hey, we're going to give you $500,000, right? Like, let's slow your roll a little bit. But, if you're adding up and you get 4 or 5 $5,000 deals, that's $25,000. That's not chump change,
Right.
And again, that's probably not happening for everybody. I get that, but you have the opportunities because, like you said, I think the community in Lubbock is just, it's different from anywhere else, maybe in the entire country, just for the sheer fact of it is isolated. And Texas Tech is, I mean, athletically, really the only thing West Texas has in the sense of the closest thing to a professional franchise. So I think it's a good and a bad thing that you're isolated like that, because you're right. Some recruits are just not going to want to come out there. But I also think NIL lessens that burden a little bit because, let's face it, kids want to get paid. But I do want to hear about this. You met everybody on the coaching staff. You obviously knew a couple before that anyway, if we're being honest, just because, well, you played with at least one. But what was your sense of the practice you attended, the coaches that you met, maybe some of the players you talked to? Overall, what was your overall thought of just really being around the Texas Tech football program right now?
Man, I think the number one thing for me, and like I said, I took my offensive coordinator, Marlon Wynn, played at Texas Tech as well. Great player there. But I think the thing we felt the most was love when we came in. It was love, and not only because we were former players, but I mean, I felt the love of, there's other coaches that, I mean, they treated great. I saw some teammates and saw some, but I mean, I was treated just as another coach was treated. And that's, with the utmost respect that they were doing. Coach McGuire took the time to, in middle of practice, Coach Mann, he's at Coronado, another great coach, another young great coach, but took the time to introduce me. He left in the middle of practice to come shake my hand and talk to me. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that was pretty not important because, like I said, I'm not important, but he took the time to do that, which to me makes me feel like the little things are important to him. The way practice was ran, the energy that was in there, the love that was in there. I haven't seen that in a while of just genuinely coaches. I felt like players care for each other, coaches care for each other, coaches care for the others that were there to even come support. And there's so many coaches I felt got in there and felt comfortable. And it was just a comfortable feeling, seeing a bunch of teammates, a bunch of people that are working. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome here. Is there anything we can help you with? That's not a have to thing. And it's not always been like that. It's always, coaches have always been welcome, but arms haven't been open like that. And they haven't been open to sit down and talk and do all that. And I think that's the greatest thing Coach McGuire has brought so far. He understands. He's been a high school coach. That's important. And, before this, like I said, I love Texas Tech with all my heart. But before this coaching staff, I'm 20 minutes away. There's two Texas Tech people 20 minutes away, and no one from Texas Tech stopped by to say hello. And regardless if we have kids or not, we played at Texas Tech, y'all could at least stop by. So the fact that they're coming by, saying hello, if I get a top-notch recruit, hey, where I'm trying to send them to go. And they're going to have a bug in the ear, but I don't know if it would always been like that. If you don't come and then all of a sudden I get a kid and you want to show up and be like, hey man, we remember you. Nah, I want people.
Well, why would it be like that? Right. Like, I mean, like you said, it is that connection. Like, even if it is your alma mater, like if you're not close to the coaches that are there right now, why would you send a kid that you obviously want the best for to a program? Even like I said, if it is your alma mater that little to nothing about and don't have the connection with that coach, why would you do that?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that Coach McGuire has hit on. And like I said, just even the way the offense ran, it kind of reminded me back of as what people say, the golden days. I don't want to feel old on the podcast, but just the way it was ran, the speed that it was ran, the attention to details that was ran, the amount of times the same play was ran. It was really cool to see. And those kids, you could tell, are 100% bought in. Afterwards, kids not doing what they're supposed to, coaches taking care of it. It's good to see, because those are the small things. Like I tell my team, the small things turn into big things. Like very small things are the big things that end up costing championships, costing games. So I think Coach McGuire has done an amazing job, and his staff, and not only his coaching staff, his supporting staff. They've done an awesome job as far as how they're doing it, how they're getting coaches involved. And there was a lot of coaches, and I felt like a lot of coaches felt like, they were a part of that program in a sense. Like they've been there. And in the past, I felt like if you've played there, yeah, you've got that ability to go, because but if you haven't, you've been like, oh, this is cool. But it's not like that. At the end, all the coaches broke it out. And that's a thing that I don't see a lot of coaches, even when I was at West Virginia with Dana. It's not like that. He doesn't always speak to the coaches. Like it's a hit or miss. Sometimes he'll say hello, sometimes he'll walk right past you. And same with Leach. It's the same type deal. So it's cool to see just a different kind of different approach. And like I said, Coach Hose is killing it. Coach Leach is killing it. They're doing a great job. But it's just cool to see a different approach at Texas Tech, because I feel like we've had kind of the same kind of approach that's been going on at Texas Tech. So it's just cool to see a different approach, a different type of energy around there. And like I said, just being there feels like we've been winning. It really does. It feels like we've been a program that's been on top, and it just has that feeling. So like I said, I have the utmost respect, not only because they're my friends, old teammates, but just what they're doing. I mean, I'm pretty sure, we got to give them some time, of course. And like I said, but I think there's no doubt in my mind, I think they're going to get it rolling, and not to mention those new facilities. I'm excited to see. It's kind of scary. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Like I said, these people want to see the ball being thrown. Oh, the ball will be thrown. I can assure you that. So, buckle up, be ready to go. And like I said, I think, the only difference is, like I said, we've had some good defensive coaches, and, no disrespect to any of them, but I think the emphasis is put on a little more on defense, because we know at Texas Tech we can score points. We know that's what Texas Tech is about. But like I said, there's times when we lost 65-60, 48-40-51. Those are type days. But I think too, on that subject, people got to understand, when you run this type of offense, there's going to be points given up.
Oh yeah, you're not giving your defense a break.
Yeah, you're gonna run 110 plays. So I think that's the part people don't understand. People are like, man, our defense sucks. No, they just, not that they suck. They're out there a lot,
Well, if you're running 110 plays, what's stopping the other team from running 110 plays?
Yeah, and you got 3 and out, sometimes interceptions, sometimes you never know what could happen. One time you could score on one play, next time you can go interception on one play. So I think like people got to understand what comes with that. And it's a great deal, but what comes with that is it's pros and cons of everything. So I hope people understand and are respectful to the defense, because like I said, I heard that for years. Our defense can't do that. Well, you go out there for 110 plays in a conference that is known for offense. That's what they do in this conference. They throw the ball, they score points. So
the narrative is changing around that, though, and Texas Tech is part of it. But it's got to change eventually. But you're right. Yeah. You're 1000% right. Like when people think of, there's still that and I'll say it's a negative connotation, like in the sense that nobody plays defense in the Big 12. Like it's not entirely true, but like I get where you're coming from, because for the past 5 years, defenses have gotten better, but where they've gotten better from is that era that you're talking about, where there was 67-63 games, and it's like, whoa, bro, like what are we? It's like arena football, but we're playing on 100-yard field.
Yeah, like basketball scores. You don't know if it's basketball or football scores.
Yeah, it's probably not great when your basketball program is holding the team that they're facing on the court to fewer points than you're giving up on the gridiron. You know what I mean? Like probably not ideal.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's wild. But that's good insight, though. I'm glad you got to go back. And really, that's one thing that is great to hear from just like an alumni point of view, right? you obviously want like greats. And again, I know you're humble and everything, but let's face it, you are one of the best that's ever played at Texas Tech, right? Like, it's good to see the coaches that, if we're being honest about it, like Joey McGuire doesn't have ties to Texas Tech outside of his daughter, right? But he was smart enough to see, okay, there are worthy coaches that deserve to be here that I can surround myself with, that buy into my culture first and foremost, but also know what the culture's like there so I can feed off of them. And of course, I'm talking about Zach Kitley, Hamby. Obviously, there's a bunch of guys here, but it all starts at the top. It starts with Joey McGuire, and then it's a trickle-down effect. And he has just done an amazing job in turning around a program that, I mean, let's be honest, if we started talking, 12 months ago at this time, we wouldn't be talking about Texas Tech football. There was no reason to talk about Texas Tech football other than maybe like, when does Matt Wells get fired? And I hate having those conversations because, listen, you're a coach, like, I'm sure, like, if God forbid that day ever comes around where somebody's like, oh, they need to fire him or something like that, you're going to hear it, even if you say that you don't hear it. Like, you're a human being. And it's hard to have those conversations just because you understand that that is another person. That is a real person with a family, kids, and everything. But at the same time, those conversations need to be had. And so I'd much rather be in the camp where we don't have to have those conversations. And that's where Texas Tech is now. And it's crazy because if you would have told me that the day that Joey McGuire got hired, that we would be talking about Texas Tech football on March 8th before spring ball even starts, like, we would be talking about it, I would have said you're an idiot because, first and foremost, men's basketball is going on, baseball is going on. I'm not talking about football. That is the third sport I want to talk about at this time of the year at best, right? And now here we are leading off a podcast, and we spent the first 20 minutes talking about, like, I mean, credit to them. Awesome that you got to go back and, like, they're actually embracing the alumni factor, because that's something that I think if you want to build a legit program that has success for years to come and not just a flash in the pan, you have to get the alumni on board. Simple and plain. It's the truth. And not the alumni that went to the school to get a degree in engineering. The guys that actually were on the field and put in the time and the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears. And then the fans will buy in once they see that. And to be honest with you, the fans already bought in before we even knew about that. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but absolutely amazing job by Joey McGuire. Let's transition to basketball, though, Lyle, as the Big 12 tournament starts up in Kansas City on Thursday. Texas Tech will have the late game, and let's be honest, tip-off is scheduled for 8:30 p.m. There's no way in hell it starts at 8:30 p.m. It's the Big 12 tournament. We'll be up until midnight. It's just the truth. And so Texas Tech is the 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament, and they will face the Cyclones of Iowa State, which is big for Texas Tech in the sense that if they do win that game, that is another quad 1 win. That is important for Texas Tech in the seeding department. Now, I've been asked multiple times on Twitter this week, like, how many games does Texas Tech have to win in the Big 12 tournament to keep the 3 seed? And Lyle, I'll be honest with you. I think Texas Tech right now is hanging on by a thread to that 3 seed, man. I really do. They did themselves no favors the last 3 games of the season, especially that game against Oklahoma State. I don't know if you listened to my tirade on my Twitter spaces afterwards, but I dropped apparently now people are keeping track of how many F-bombs I use, which is probably not the greatest thing for me, but at the same time, I don't care. But it is what it is. So, I mean, it's so frustrating because this team is too talented to go through stretches like that, scoring 2 points in the final 9 minutes and 48 seconds. But I think the most important thing I learned from those last 3 games is I was wrong about one particular player, and that was Kevin McCullar. And I was wrong in the sense of I knew he was important to this team, but I was dead wrong on how important he was for this team. He is by far the most important person for this team. It is not close. And to be honest with you, I don't know where Texas Tech goes if he is not at least like 75%, 80% healthy in March. It is a scary thing to think about because he is by far, I mean, I think it literally goes Kevin McCullar, Bryson Williams, they're in the same tier. Like, those 2 are the most important guys. And then you drop down like 4 levels, in my opinion. And then you have like 5 guys there, Terrence Shannon, Kevin O'Banner, Adonis Arms, those type players right there. But Kevin McCullar and this is no disrespect to Bryson Williams, who was a first team All Big 12 member, Kevin McCullar is the most important player on this team. I knew that, but I didn't know to what degree, if that makes sense. And the last 3 games of the year proved that he is by far the most important player. And Texas Tech will not reach their ceiling in the NCAA tournament if he's not at least remotely close to healthy.
Yeah, I think you said it. 2 things though, I want to comment on that is to say too is as the season goes on, they've gelled together, they know their role. So sometimes as a player, it's hard to get out of your role when someone gets hurt and change what's been going on, what you've been trained to do. So I think those guys I don't want to say they're same tier as those guys. I think they can play at that level. I think that they are within the system and they bought into the system. And when someone gets hurt, it's kind of hard for someone to say, okay, well, I'm taking you out this role and putting you in this role, and this is what you need to do. Or who's going to step up in that role and do that? We're all role players because these are our guys. But when they go out, who's the one that's going to step up? Kind of like at the last game for that last shot. I don't think they knew who was going to take the last shot. I think it was whoever had the ball in their hands. I knew that they drew up a play.
Oh,
but
don't get me started on that last 15 seconds, Lyle. I will start dropping F-bombs, man. Oh my gosh, that last 15 seconds was maybe the worst 15 seconds I've seen Texas Tech play basketball in 3 years.
But
that was terrible.
I don't think they knew who. I don't think anybody felt comfortable enough to take that shot, and I don't think it's that they don't think that they couldn't make it. It's just they've been role players this whole season. So it's hard to say, well, I'm going to step up and take it and still be respected by your team in a sense, because if that one person goes up and takes, you're like, oh, who does he think he is? Like, who made him that guy? So I think it's a fine line of understanding who's going to take over that role, how it's going to happen. There's a lot to it. That I think they're trying to figure out. And I think that's been the problem right now is who steps up and how much do you step up? Do you take 8 shots in that too much? Do you take 6 shots? Do you take 12 shots? I think understanding your role and fitting into what Coach Adams has is a deal that they're struggling with. And I also think that, people got to understand the better that you do, the more of a target you are. So like I said, like when we were number 2 in the nation, we got everybody's best game. When we was 25 or 20, we didn't get the best games of people that they got because it's a big deal for people to beat us. And I think when it comes to basketball, like that's huge wins. Every time I see somebody when they're talking about maybe getting into the NCAA, if they beat Texas Tech, that's always like a top win. That's a top. There's no team above them really except for like Kansas. That's the only Kansas, Baylor, then us. Them are the 3 top teams. So I think that it adds a target to our back as well to people know, hey, well, if we beat Texas Tech, we might get in the NCAA tournament because of what Texas Tech has done. So I think those are the 2 things that people fail to realize and just they get everybody's best game. So if they don't have their best game, they're getting other people's best game. Like some of those guys from Oklahoma State made baskets that I was like, wow, he didn't even mean to make those baskets, and I think that's what happens when you continually are good and you're a top, like I said, we're fighting for the Big 12 championship. We're right there for a Big 12 championship regular season. And I think that's the thing. Same with Kansas, same with Baylor. Like anybody could beat them because that's a huge deal going forward. Like I said, if anybody beats us 3 in this tournament, that may put them in the NCAA tournament. Losing us may put them out. So I think the importance of games versus us goes up a lot more than certain teams. And I think that's what we struggle with.
Yeah, no, it's just, man, I can't get started on that 15 seconds. I will literally.
It was a foul at the end though.
But you shouldn't be in that situation. And by the way, if the ref does call a foul there, that's a bad ref. I'm sorry. Like, it's a bad ref. I agree 100% that was a foul. Like, I get it, but you cannot call that there. You can't. And to be honest with you, Texas Tech never should have been in that situation. You scored 2 points in the final, basically 10 minutes. Yeah. You don't deserve to win a basketball game. You just don't at that point.
Amen.
Yeah. You mentioned Mark Adams. Well, he did win Associated Press Big 12 Coach of the Year, while Bryson Williams earned AP First Team honors. Bryson Williams also earned First Team All Big 12 honors. And now this is the transition that, well, Lyle, people, there's some people on Twitter that already don't like me, and that's fine. I get it. I have a punchable face. It's whatever. But I'll say this. And for those that don't know, Scott Drew won Coach of the Year, the Big 12 Coach of the Year. That is voted on by the coaches. The AP poll is voted by multiple people from different regions in the Big 12, such as Waco, obviously Lubbock, Carlos Silva Jr. for the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. He's the one that has the vote for the Lubbock area. But the Big 12 itself is voted on by the coaches, and Scott Drew won that. There was a lot of uproar on Twitter. I'm sure you saw it, Lyle, about Texas Tech fans saying, how did Coach Adams not win this? And I'll be honest with you, like if I had a vote, I probably would have gone with Coach Adams or TJ from Iowa State, Olsenberg. So I probably would have gone with one of those two guys. And if I'm being honest about it, I probably would have gone with TJ Olsenberg, if I'm just frankly being honest, just because he had 9 votes. 9 votes in terms of winning the Big 12 conference, right? Do you know how you get 9 votes? That means everybody picked you to finish last. And they're an NCAA tournament team. Did they fall off a cliff during the year? Absolutely. Were they overranked when they were in the top 10? Yes. But what he did up in Ames was phenomenal. And to be fair, I'm splitting hairs here. Like if you would have given it to Adams or you would have given it to TJ, I would have been totally fine with it. Either way, that's probably one of the two I would have given it to. But at the same time, there's no reason to be upset, in my opinion, that Scott Drew got it. I thought Scott Drew was more than deserving. I think people misremember in the sense that Baylor was not picked to finish first. They were not picked to finish second in the Big 12. They were picked to finish third. They lost quite a bit of talent last year from their national championship team. They had to deal with injuries just like Texas Tech did. Like it or not, Tech maybe dealt with more. Maybe Baylor did. Who cares? It's up to your opinion and who you're a fan of. Let's just be honest about it. But to say Scott Drew wasn't deserving, I think was kind of crazy in my opinion. I think that that's more of a testament to just how great the Big 12 is, right? We're talking about Bill Self wasn't even in the conversation. He's a Hall of Famer. We're talking about Bruce Weber, who was really freaking good, right? We're talking about Bob Huggins, who had a down year, and he's a Hall of Famer, right? Like there are so many good, and I'll say his name, it's fine. Chris Beard wasn't even in the conversation, right? And Texas Tech fans, rightly or wrongly, accept it or not, we know how good of a coach he was at Texas Tech, and now he's at Texas. Obviously didn't want to see him do good. 2-0. Remember that, Chris. Anyway, but that's a testament to how great this league is. I think that there's so many coaches that are deserving to be in that conversation, that you had 3 legit coaches where I would have been okay if it went to any of them. Like legit. If Coach Adams would have won, I would have been like more than deserving. If TJ Olsenberg won, more than deserving. Scott Drew won, more than deserving. And I think that's a testament to, you look at how the AP poll went. Coach Adams won it by 1 vote. 1 vote. So, I mean, again, great for Coach Adams. He's more than deserving. Same could be said about TJ. I know I've had a lot of Iowa State fans in my mentions saying, how could you say that Scott Drew is deserving? TJ should have won it by a landslide. It's like, that's how Tech fans feel. So we got 2 fan bases up in an uproar right now. 20% of the conference is mad. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think if we're looking at it from a realistic point of view, take fandom out of it, first and foremost, it's just absolutely awesome that there's that many good coaches in the Big 12, because I'd rather have a lot of good basketball teams in a conference and every game be great than just be in the Pac-12 where there's like 2 games I want to watch every year. That's it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it. I get the dismay in terms of how could the coaches not give it to Mark Adams? He only had 5 players and all that stuff. And your points are all valid. But I also think at the same time, there's 2 other deserving coaches in TJ and Scott Drew. And I was fine either way. I mean, but my mentions said otherwise. They say they think I'm crazy. My mentions do anyway.
Yeah, man. I honestly wish that they would have a two awards for the coaches. Honestly, one for most improved and then one for coach of the year.
I'd be down for that.
To me, every year, in my opinion, being a coach of the year should be the person that wins the Big 12. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have the best team, if you win in year or not. If you won the Big 12, obviously you were the best coach in the Big 12, regardless of the situation, regardless of your kids. It does not matter. You won the Big 12 coach of the year. That I don't understand. In a sense,
even it doesn't matter what your expectations are either. Like even if you were projected to win the conference, that says something because you have the target on your back in the toughest conference in America.
So I hate it because, you know, a coach takes over and, you know, don't disrespect to any of these new coaches, but I hate it that a coach is picked 6 and does good, and then he gets to be coach of the year over a coach that won the Big 12. That does not make sense to me as a coach. And we're having an argument, and these are great coaches, but we're having an argument about two guys that did not win the Big 12. And so I wish that they would have a most improved award for those coaches. So then we can have this conversation. Well, this is what he did with that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to who won. Like no one goes, Phil Jackson was the greatest coach because of nothing other than he won. We say Phil Jackson is the best coach because he won. And so I hate that when it comes to coaching. I actually like that at the high school level. Like every year, whoever wins the district championship is coach of the year. Obviously, there's no questions to be asked about.
You'll get one of those here eventually, right?
Yeah, I hope so. You know what I'm
there
saying?
You go.
If you're listening and you need somewhere to move to Level, but I'm not recruiting. All right. But legally, yeah, absolutely. But that's my big deal on it. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless, if you've been at a powerhouse, if you win, it's still hard to win at any level and win a championship, especially in the Big 12, because anybody could be, anybody. If you go football, you go football, like there's a team or two in there that and they're not going to be very good. There's not a team in the Big 12 that can't beat anybody. And so I think that's the amazing part about that conference. But like I said, I think these conversations, whenever I hear them, are so crazy to me. Because like I said, at the end of the day, whoever is number one seed is number one seed. And they're there for a reason. They did an excellent job. And even if you have the best players, like I said, going back to Phil Jackson, he didn't win a championship every year. He had the greatest player ever. And so I think that in each year you do that is special. So I think they did it right. And like I said, if we're talking most improved, then I think those two are definitely up. Coach Adams and TJ, I think, are definitely a conversation to be had and talked about. But I think you just got to give credit where credit's due. Because like I said, to win a championship at any level from little league to high school to middle school is tough. And everybody's got to be on the same page, and you got to make sure everybody's going in the right direction to get that done. So I think that's a huge accomplishment, and that should, my opinion of what they should do.
Real quick, how many games do you have Texas Tech winning in the Big 12 tournament? Because I'll be honest, I think it's one, and then I think they lose to Baylor.
I think two.
You think they beat Baylor?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to beat a team twice, let alone three times. So that's kind of.
I think they're gonna get satisfied though after they do that, because I feel like that's kind of been a little trend for us, where we get to rolling, and we kind of start smelling ourselves, and then we fall back. And at this point, when you get that high ranked, when people will look at you at that high, like there's no games to ever take off. And I mean, 10 minutes in a basketball game, 5 minutes in a basketball game can cost you a game. That's like a freaking quarter in football. You go show up and take off a quarter, it's hard to come back. And like I said, when teams, like, I feel like because of where we are, teams are like sharks. If they smell blood, like they're going to attack. Like this is opportunity for them to beat a really good team. And it may not ever happen we may beat them the next 2 times we play them in the tournament. We may beat them the next 2 times. So they know they have to take advantage of that. Like we're the difference between some teams getting in the NCAA tournament and not.
Absolutely. Oklahoma, literally. Look at Oklahoma. Look at Oklahoma. So that win in Norman has changed their whole season.
Yeah. So I think that people know that. And like I said, I still think that's the part that fans forget so much. Like, when you're on top, it's much harder to stay on top than when you were getting there. When we were going to get to number 2, it was a lot easier to get there than when we got to number 2. Like I saw all kind of people doing stuff that I've never seen them do on film. But it's because they were excited to be there. They know they're going to get some shine, like most of our games have been on TV because of the caliber of things that they've done. So that adds it to it. Fans show up to the game, like Oklahoma State, that joint was pretty packed. I don't know how many games they've packed all year, but I know that one was pretty packed and everybody was there cheering loud. So I think that comes with, with the success. And I think we've got to learn as a team to handle it consistently. And I don't think but at the same time, how many of these guys, like you talked about, have been a part of being on that high level of a ranking team? going that far in the team and in the expectations. But like I said, basketball is a different animal too. There's no one that goes undefeated in basketball. You're going to have loss. That's just a part of basketball.
Well, unless
And
you're Gonzaga last year, and then they lost in the national championship game, like you said.
right. Yeah. Wow.
So
That was tough.
Yeah. Let's get into some of these questions, though, and we'll keep it quick on this since we're running a little long on the podcast here. So I went out and I asked y'all for your questions over on Twitter. Again, you can follow me at RCNB323. Lyle, give him that Twitter real quick.
Hey, it's Coach LLEONG.
There we go. That's what we'd love to hear. We'll start with Sydney, who asked, and we'll keep these quick. Why is Texas Tech overlooked and underrated? I think we actually talked about this a lot when we were talking about football because of where it is. Like, I mean, I think, and again, I give this man a lot of credit because I was talking mad crap about him throughout the year before he actually did show up to Lubbock, and that's Jeff Goodman. I think that he's a perfect example. Once you get somebody to Lubbock, Texas, typically they like it for a sporting event, right? Like typically they do. So I think that the problem is just getting guys out there. So I think I can speak for both of us. Like that's probably the biggest issue, right? Like in terms of just why they're underrated, because not a lot of people see them in person.
Right. And I think too, just to add on that too, I just think too, like they don't classify us as a big time program. So
Sure.
when we lose, it's like, like going back to football, when we lost to Oklahoma, we were number 2. We went all the way back to like number 19 versus there's some schools, Alabama, they lose and we lost to number 5 team. If it was Alabama, they would have lost at number 2 and went to number 5 because they lost to the 5 team. So I think when it comes to that too, a lot of the times when we lose because they don't see us as a top-notch school, they kind of they kind of put it on us a little bit. So I think, from my opinion, that's a little bit of it too.
Okay. I can get behind that. That was from, by the way, Sydney Aaron at Sydney Aaron 92. This from, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm about to just butcher this name, but I'm going to give it 110%, Lyle. It's literally called Ugly. I think her name is like Leia or something, and she just put ugly in front of it or something. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. She asked, who do y'all think Tech's toughest opponents will be during the tournament? Anyone that can shoot the damn basketball. I think that answers it. The laugh says it all. Like if you're watching on YouTube, the laugh says it all, the silence said it all, and then the chuckle said it all. I think anybody that can shoot the damn basketball. We'll move on to the next question. And by the way, a couple of teams that I would be scared of if Texas Tech was the 3 or a 4 seed, Davidson. I don't want to play Davidson. I don't want to play St. Mary's in the second round either, even though I feel a little bit more comfortable playing St. Mary's because I don't know why. Don't ask me. I don't know. But teams like that, mostly Davidson types, mid-major type. One last night that won, Chattanooga. I do not want to play Chattanooga. I do not want to play them. Chattanooga will be a team that if the matchup is right, I am going to pick them as a first-round upset of whoever the hell they play. I don't care. All right, this is the last one. This one's fun, and I'll save these other ones. Shout out to Chad, Ryan, and then Pat as well on this. I just want to answer these 3, though. This one was fun from Gage, and this is from Gregory2_Gage. He asked, if there is one shining moment for Texas Tech in the tournament, which player will have that moment? My answer is simple and plain. Let's not even explain ourselves here, Lyle. Let's just say a name. Mine is Kevin McCullar.
I'm actually going to have to go with my man, Bryce.
There we go. Love to hear it. And then I lied. One last question. This from Flash Gordon. This one's fun. Which March/April Texas Tech basketball moment is your personal favorite? I'll let you go first because mine will be very obvious for the people that have followed me for a little bit of time.
I think for me, the best ever was probably the game before we went to the national championship. Just because like for me, when we were at Texas Tech, we were able to go at halftime and sit on the second row of the game.
Wait, were you there in Minneapolis?
No. I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
there.
I was about to be
I'm
like,
not
VIP.
VIP, RC. My name ain't RC, brother. I was at the house watching
I
that.
wouldn't go
I
that
felt
far,
like
man.
I was on the second row, but I was really at the house.
I would not go that far. VIP, just because I have initials as name does not mean that you could throw that next to it.
Hey, I know you were sitting courtside. I thought I saw you, but the camera flashed off. They knew I was
No,
gonna. They
no,
knew
that
you was
wasn't me.
gonna.
That was
You were gonna be
just any
co-host. They
person
didn't
that
want me
looks
to
like a
see
youth
it.
pastor, man. No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. Nope.
But I just to see how far they've come for me was, just amazing for me because like I said, I've come from like I went to every basketball game, me and my friends, and like we sat so close to seeing, and those guys, they work hard too. We see them every day, like just the amount of work they put in. Like all college athletes put in work and they work hard. So especially to see, what the school that I love so much succeed and make it and on something that I guarantee you, if you ask 90% of the Tech fans, let me not say that, 75% of the Tech fans, they say, nah, we won't go to the national championship, especially at that time, ever, because of how it was going. And to see them fight back and get to something that, like I said, there have been many teams in Texas Tech ever get to the national championship. And no one to pick us at all was one of the best moments. And like I said, I still feel like we got cheated, but we're not going to go on that. We'll let you talk about your moment and let the people know.
I mean, mine is obviously Minnesota as well. I got to cover it. I was there. I was not courtside. Just pregame, I was courtside, and then I had to go up to the media booth. But I think for me, it was just the whole experience, right? Like you watch the Final Four as a kid, regardless of even if you like college basketball, you see it and, you're like, damn, are they really playing a basketball game in a football stadium right now? And that's just like, honestly, the games are just a very small fraction of the excitement. Like they shut down the busiest street in downtown Minneapolis for a week because they had Fan Fest there. I mean, it was literally just getting to see Texas Tech fans take over a Texas Tech bar in downtown, like getting to hear stories from, people like you that had similar stories where it's like, I remember going to basketball games and I could show up 4 minutes into the first half and I'm sitting literally right behind the bench. Just getting to go there and, really just experience it as not only somebody that had already graduated at that time, I was an alumni, but also just going and experiencing that from just seeing every fan base that was there, whether it was Michigan State, Auburn, and yes, I'll say Virginia as well, even though we don't like them. If you're a Tech alumni or fan, just seeing how these people came together and everything. And obviously, if we're asking me what my favorite moment is, it is by far, and I'm taking the media side out of this right now. And by the way, hold on real quick. I'm going to turn around for people on YouTube and grab something. Here we go. You can see it, Lyle. If you're on YouTube, you're going to have to go check out the YouTube. Look at that.
CBS, stay off my man.
Look at that.
ABC, all y'all. ESPN, keep it moving.
Look at that. Got the Final Four credential behind me and everything. But
hey, I want to say this before you go. I'm calling it right now. You're gonna be replacing Skip Bayless. 5 years.
I don't want to be Skip Bayless, man. I really don't. I don't, but I'll take the job. Pays well.
Yeah.
Pays well.
Hey,
he's got a dope shoe collection too.
Just let me hold the camera, brother, and that's all I ask. All right,
there you go.
Yeah,
my favorite moment though, I'll wrap it up real quick, was just I remember exactly what seat I was sitting in. I was 7 seats in the press box, first row of the Minnesota Vikings media press box, 7th row. My girlfriend, who had just recently become my girlfriend, who I had worked with, was on my left. And then my buddy Tobias was on the right. And it was right after, and we all worked at KTXT, the student radio station. And I remember vividly Brandon Francis dribbling it out, Jarrett Culver hopping up and down, pushing Norense Odiase when the buzzer went off. And I remember the Matador song. And that was the thing that got me. Was I take pride in myself, like in the sense of, especially when I'm in a media type environment and I can't be a fan, just stone face. Like I'm stone faced, like nothing really bothers me. You might get under the table, just a little, fist pump or something. But I was pretty good the whole game, I thought. But as soon as the Matador song started, like I don't want to say I got choked up or anything, but it was a moment where I was thinking about like a majority of the people sitting in the stands where it was like, I just started caring about Texas Tech basketball in 2014. I know that there's people, and not the first person I thought of, but the most like, I don't know, the person that everybody knows off the top of their head when I say this. I thought of Bill Dean, who has been associated with Texas Tech since the 60s. And I was like, there's people here that literally have followed Texas Tech basketball for half a century, never thinking they would get to this moment. And they have a chance to play the Matador song, and they're playing on Monday night for a national championship. And like, I don't know, my mind went there, and I was just like, damn, I'm lucky. Like I'm here for free, basically. The only thing I had to pay for was my flight in a hotel. I didn't have to pay to get into the game. Like they actually paid me to go to the game, right? Like not that much, by the way. Let's not get it twisted. Student radio, it's not a lucrative business. But I just remember vividly, like when the Matador song started, I was like, all right. I remember telling myself, take a deep breath and soak it all in. It's probably what you did when you played Texas, or when you had a big game too. You're like, all right, deep breath, take it all in. And I had no impact on the game whatsoever. I was just somebody typing on a keyboard. That's it. But I just remember as an alumni, I let myself, flip that switch on and off from, okay, you're not a media member anymore. Just for this literally 2 minutes, enjoy yourself. Don't cheer or anything, but just soak it in and like make sure you look around and you see like, I remember looking down and seeing people crying. I remember just tears of joy, right? Like I remember seeing Patrick Mahomes. They showed him on the big screen. I remember seeing, all these famous Texas Tech alumni on the video board. And I'm just sitting there like recording it and thinking to myself, enjoy it, because you never know if this will ever happen again in your lifetime.
Yeah.
That was a long-winded answer to answer his question, but
no, they need to know though. That's like I said, that's things that you'll never forget though. And
I still go back and watch that video, by the way. I'll give KTXT a shout out. It's still their pinned tweet to this day, the Matador song. I remember vividly taking that video, and before I pressed record, just like I said, telling myself, you're recording this, but take it all in, man. Just take it all in. I remember going from right to left and just seeing everything. And it's ingrained in my brain forever, honestly. Like it's one of those core memories. Like people make fun of sports, like, oh, how could you be so passionate about it? It's because of that. Those moments like that.
But I tell people too, like that's the thing. And like I said, before we get out of here, that's the thing that makes college so amazing. Like you don't have to show up at practice every day to be a part of it. Like you pay your money to go to school, you are a part of it. And I think that's the coolest thing. And so, sometimes when I hear NFL people talking about we, it kind of pisses me off, honestly. But when people at college level say we, they are we because they are a part of it. They help build. If they did not go to school, we wouldn't have the things. If they didn't show up to the games, we wouldn't get to do the things that we get to do. So it is a we when it comes to college. And I think that's the most amazing thing. And people have been loyal and supported. Now, it's been tough sometimes. I ain't gonna lie, Texas Tech fans. Y'all been brutal at times, but y'all are the greatest fans in America, though, and y'all have been loyal and stuck by. So, besides those players that deserve it, I'm glad for the people that have stuck by and still went to the games when they didn't win. And like they deserve it. They won too. And so that's the great thing about college football is, we could say we because we all are a part of Texas Tech University. And, they've taken people's money, a lot of money from people. So y'all are definitely a part of everything that goes on. And it's amazing to be a part. And like I said, everywhere I go, I feel like Texas Tech people are family. Like I really do. And I feel like if you went to school there, you are the same as anybody that played there ever, anything. We are all one. We are all Red Raiders. So that Matador song is the real. Like I said, I play it every morning for my boys. Pretty soon I'm going to make them learn the Texas Tech school song. I might get in trouble by the admins here at Level End, but they're going to know Texas Tech.
Make them learn those last few lines that the student section says, not the actual song itself. We will hit them. We will wreck them.
They need to know both, brother. This history.
We will add an F word tally right there. You know what I mean? Last thing before I go, and I'll save this for the next podcast too. It's a testament. Like you talk about being a Red Raider and everything like that, and just like, no matter where you are, it's there. I have a great story. So you'll have to come back for the next podcast about how I was in Cancun in
That's what rich
September.
people do, y'all. I'm sorry,
I
I didn't
wouldn't
mean to
say
say that
that.
out loud.
I wouldn't
Okay.
say that. I would not say that. I remember we were in Cancun and I met a certain All-American in Cancun at the resort, and I did not know who it was. I will be wholeheartedly honest until they brought me a shot and they gave me a recum. And then we had like a 45-minute conversation. So I will save that for the next podcast. He's Lyle. You know who he is.
RC, let them know too. Sorry, before we go, we're gonna have a special guest pretty soon. Special guest.
Is this confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed. The date didn't confirm, but it's confirmed. So it's going down. People stay tuned. Sorry, RC. I had to let them know.
No. Hey, this is news to me. Okay, so I'm happy about this too. I'm happy I'll be in the loop as soon as I stop pressing record here in a minute. He's Lyle. I'm RC. Apparently we have a special guest coming on soon. Again, who knew? He did. I didn't. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast over on YouTube. We're getting close to our goal of 200. Maybe we can get to 250 by the end of March with March Madness ramping up. We'll be doing these weekly, and be sure to follow Lyle over on Twitter. What we got again?
Hey, we got Coach LLEONG. Y'all help your boy get to 4,000 if y'all don't mind. God bless.
I'm trying to get to 5K, man, before my birthday. It's here in a couple weeks. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Let's get my man to 5K.
I'm really old. I'm really getting old. No offense. I know you're older than me, but don't take that personal. You know what I mean? Don't take it personal. I just feel like I'm getting old. I played basketball for the first time today in like 8 months. That's enough. We don't need to have another conversation.
You don't start getting old till you start looking at the weather. Every morning before I wake up, I check the weather. And so, I know I'm getting there. My knees hurt when it's cold.
I'm already old then. I've been doing that since I was a sophomore in college with Lubbock.
You have?
Yes. You think I walk outside and just like take a chance with Lubbock weather? Hell no.
That's what I do. I walk outside. If it's shorts and that cold hit me wrong, I turn right back around and put on some pants and be like,
I don't got time for that. I got time for 15 seconds to check. I ain't got time to switch pants and stuff. If I made the wrong decision and it's 30 degrees outside and I got shorts, you bet your ass I'm walking outside with shorts for the rest of the day. He's Lyle. I'm RC. You know what to do. Subscribe, follow us on Twitter, YouTube. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about Texas Tech in terms of them winning the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. But we will know this. Who Texas Tech will be playing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. He's Lyle. I'm RC. Appreciate y'all. As always, stay safe. And most importantly, wreck 'em.